Hi, my name's Sarah Hudson. I'm a finance broker and money coach, and I'd like to welcome you to Let's Talk Money. Let's Talk Money is a series of interviews with successful women that I've met along my journey, and where I'd like to share stories about how we feel about money. So money's kind of a taboo subject in our society, and I want to debunk that and demystify it and get serious about sharing our stories about money. So let's get started. So Sian Stevens is a native British subject who has arrived in Melbourne in 2013, and she lives in inner city Melbourne. And Sian is a people and cultural specialist working in the leadership and management space and is passionate about co-designing productive, stress-free, high-performing businesses by working with small business to ensure each individual is working to their strengths. I hope I've summed that up nicely for you, Sian, but yeah, HR specialist. So great to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be chatting with you, Sarah.
So the first question I want to ask you is, what do you remember about money when you were growing up?
I would have to say not a lot, because it wasn't a conversation we ever had. We weren't particularly given pocket money or anything like that. Things were purchased on our behalf by mum and dad. As far as I'm aware, Dad did the finances for the house. I don't even remember him and Mum having conversations about it. So I would have to say that my relationship with money was pretty much nothing.
Okay.
I remember being told to be a good girl, brought up in a household in Surrey. That was quite important. But I also remember having a feeling that money was, the root of all evil kind of conversation. I'm not quite sure where that came from, but I think looking back, trying to put the two together, how could I have a relationship with money and be a good girl if money was the root of all evil? The two just didn't go together. So I would have to say I had zero relationship with money growing up.
That's quite a contradiction, isn't it? And so what kind of household did you live in? Was it like a middle class background or?
Yes, very middle class background. I went to dancing and Girl Guides, and my sister did the same. We went to the local comprehensive, but all the kids went to the local comprehensive. In those days, there was very few people that went through private education. Mm-hmm. There was a much larger number of kids that went to the local schools, and they were very good local schools. So yes, it was very middle class. I played my musical instruments, and I went to dancing lessons, and I went to Girl Guides. I'm not complaining. I had a fantastic childhood. Probably didn't even realise how great until I see some of the pressures that kids are under these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have any connection with my school friends until the next day. So, if we'd all fallen out on the way home, it didn't really matter, because we went home, we had tea, and the next morning we met up again on the walk into school and kind of went, sorry about yesterday, you all right? Yeah, fine. There was none of this constant communication that, put so much pressure on people. So I think I had a pretty great childhood.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think you're right. Social media has certainly changed life forever, and mostly for our children. At least we know what we had and that experience, but for our children it's quite a different thing. Yeah. So who were your money role models growing up?
Well, again, it's difficult to say, because I didn't really have that much connection to money. I think now it's people like you, Sarah, who know that you have a skill and you take the time to share it, because I think it's such an incredible knowledge that people do need to have. If I'd known then what I know now, then I would have had a much greater interaction, and I would have asked more questions, and I would have found out what I needed to know to take care of myself financially. And I think finding the right person to help you do that at whatever age that comes for you, whether it's younger or older, it's really important to find somebody who can share that knowledge. So now it's people like yourself that actually take the time to speak with people, understand where they are, look at where they want to get to, and help them through that path to get there. They would be my financial role models.
And of course, in the business that you work in, you provide financial workshops as well, which is obviously a valuable asset to have for a business. How do you find that sort of work?
Look, I think when you're looking at the wellness of a business, particularly a small business, it's very difficult for business owners to have in-house services for their staff because it's costly. However, if you can find opportunities to use different learning platforms for your staff, if you have financially savvy individuals in your business, then that's more financial knowledge in your business. So you're not the only person, you're not just the CEO who's got, or the CFO who's got an understanding of what the bottom line needs to look like. You're far more able to build your bottom line if you can share that knowledge across the business, and everybody takes an understanding and responsibility for that in a small business. So yeah, I would say it's around sharing that knowledge. It's around giving people a safe space to learn in. I still think financials are a conversation that people find difficult to have. It feels like you're sharing something very private. So like you, we never ask, what's your income? We ask you to assess where you are now. We give you the tools to do that.
Yeah.
Like you, we look at, where do you want to get to? Not in, I want to earn this much money, but what does that look like for you? What does financial freedom look like?
It's a real holistic approach to running a business, isn't it? It's about giving that person some wholeness around their role.
Absolutely. And increasing that knowledge within the business itself.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a really progressive type of education within it, in not just looking at what this person can do for me in a business. It's what can we give that person that's going to help them and encourage them to be the best person that they can be. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, awesome. So when and what was your first job? Did you work as a teenager?
I did. I actually got my first job when I was about 16. I worked in a local supermarket. They had just gone from being purely a grocer's to adding in what they called home and wear, which was clothing, toys, garden equipment. This is back in the 80s. And I worked on a Saturday, and then I got promoted to supervisor, so I had to do Thursday nights as well. But yeah, that was my first experience of money. My first pay packet was £13. I can remember getting it, and I was so proud that I had earned that money. For one day, I got £13 in my hand. And of course, I was doing every Saturday, so that was times 4 a month. That was really quite exciting.
Yeah, I can't even remember what I got paid. My first job was working in a milk bar. And yeah, I can't even remember what we got, but yeah, it was just such a great experience, isn't it? To be working and earning your own money and then being able to save for those things that you want. It's just amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes. My first purchase was a hairdryer. I wasn't allowed one. I was supposed to be au naturel, but I really wanted to be able to do my hair differently, and I bought myself a hairdryer. I was so excited.
Oh, good for you, a luxury item. Good for you.
It was.
So a question that I'm putting out to people is just to shift things up a little bit, is asking, where was your most expensive dinner?
Do you know, I've thought about this, and I don't know that I've ever had a very expensive dinner, but once my dad did take us, we were traveling, and he did take us to a very lovely hotel called the Wild Boar Hotel up in the Lake District. And I would imagine that was a very expensive dinner. It was absolutely beautiful. We stayed there. The hotel was absolutely stunning. The food was gorgeous. I would imagine that was probably the most expensive dinner I've ever had.
Do you remember what you ate?
I probably had lamb, because even as a small child, that's always been one of my favourites. So I would suspect I had lamb or some sort of roast dinner, I think it was, if I remember rightly. I think I was probably about 8 or 10 years of age.
Oh.
But I can remember the hotel, and I can remember sitting in the restaurant with mum and dad and my sister.
What a lovely experience. That's gorgeous. What does financial freedom look like to you, Sian?
For me, it's a life with no worries. It's an opportunity to know that I'm safe, to know that I'm secure, to know that I've got a roof over my head, that I'm not worrying about where the next paycheck's coming from. that I can just breathe around. And it's not about massive amounts of spending. It's just knowing that if something happens, I've got contingencies. I've got a way to counteract anything that might happen that might normally seem like a difficult situation. I've actually got some contingency around, actually, this is okay. I don't need to panic. I know that I'm okay. I can actually sort this out. There isn't any need for me to feel that this is going to have a negative impact on my life. So that's very much freedom for me. It's just about being able to feel safe and secure, know that I'm taking good care of myself, so that I can continue to do what I love, which is supporting others.
Isn't that wonderful? I think as we get older, money as in a tool to be rich and spend and buy all these, like fast cars or, luxurious homes becomes less relevant, doesn't it? And you get to a certain age where you feel like money has a purpose, and the purpose is to be able to live the life you choose.
And I would agree with that. I mean, I have had times in my life where there's been big houses and big cars and regular big purchases, but I can't say I was any happier then than I am now. And I have a lot less, and I'm glad because there's a lot less cleaning involved. But two, it means that I've got money to go and do the things I like to do and spend time with the people I want to be with. It's not such an integral part of, it's about having a roof over your head, and it's about having money in the bank and food in the cupboard. It's the simple things. It's the simple things for me that financial freedom means.
That's so true. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on our interview series, Let's Talk Money. It's been such a pleasure having a chat with you and hearing about your childhood and your stories. And I know that you are still involved in the Girl Guide, so sharing your knowledge with them and keeping the next generation of young women learning about different skill sets would just be amazing. I'm sure you'd be absolutely fantastic with that. So thank you again, Sian, for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.